Alright guys, I said I would try to do some computer work. What I decided to do was a computer sim of Mikey's old 306. Now, you have to realize some of the specs are coming out of my brain from the early 90s. Such stuff as the compression ratio, the weight of the Mustang. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do know it was bored 30 over, had TRW forged flat top pistons with 4 valve reliefs. The heads were milled, the deck was milled. We had extra thin head gaskets that were special. So I'm going to take a guess and say it was 10.5 to 1. All right, this sheet you're looking at here is the Mikey E7TE copy, which is similar to the DV copy. But when I did Mikey's, they didn't have any valve stem boss at all. I mowed them out of the intake and the exhaust. And a lot of people will say, well, you can't do that. Well, I did it with K-line guides, and that engine was running when Mikey sold it about 7 years ago. And it was built in the 90s and beaten like a red-headed stepchild its entire life. All right, Baxter. Okay, you can see graph of the intake flows. No, nothing spectacular. You know, 215 at 500. Nothing great, right? Now let's change this on the computer. We can look at the exhaust. Okay, the exhaust. These are modern exhausts. I'm sure these flow a little better than the ones that Mikey had on his. I didn't think of that when I put these numbers in tonight because I'm already toast. So I would say those numbers are probably about 10 on the high side. So I don't know how many horsepower that would add, but this will just give us an idea. And the only reason I'm even doing this is I want to get, I have a bunch of stuff to measure. You have to measure a bunch of stuff on the heads. This is a, this is Performance Trends. Performance Trends doesn't send me any money. But I actually got this. I had to pay for this software, but I got like a version of this came when I bought my flow bench, and I had to change ownership of it. I think it was $50 to change the ownership of this program. It probably cost more to buy it originally. Okay, let's take a look. Let me see what I want to show you guys. Okay, here's some of the info on the heads you have to go through. Now, I want to do the same thing for the young guy that we're doing the GT40Ps for, but I got to go through and I got to measure all this stuff. The E7s, I had all this stuff already done in David Vizard's program, so it was relatively easy for me to put it all into this and try it. We can also put it into that program and see how they compare. It'll be interesting to take a look at that. But I want to get a baseline of where he is now with his 302 that he's running 715 in the 8th, I think it was, at 94 miles an hour, which is, I think, pretty impressive considering it's a mostly stock engine. I did convert that. It was like 11 1/4 seconds in the quarter mile, which I thought was pretty good. So I'm excited about this project and what we're going to wind up getting out of it. But if you take a quick look at this, right, it's not even 100% right, because I was going to change it for the other set of cylinder heads. All right, let me just save that. Hold on. Okay, it's got your port lengths, it's got your throat diameter, it's got your valve diameter, it's got your stems, port volumes, and then when you do your port length, I'll show you guys how to do port length one day soon. You got to measure the top of the port, the bottom of the port, and then average them together. And I'll show you how we do that. And you put all that into the program. Okay, and then you put the engine specs in here. Most of this is the cam. We used the X303. You got to remember it was the early 90s. And, you know, X33 was not even considered a street cam. I can't tell you how many times we had people say, you know, there's no way that's an X303 in that little Mustang because it idles way too good. Well, I did a bunch of things to it to make it idle as well as it does. Okay, 30 over, 3-inch stroke. I put it in as 10.5 to 1 compression. I don't remember exactly what the compression was, because I don't remember how much the heads and the block was decked. So, okay, so we can do an engine report, performance report on what you put in. So I don't remember in this program. I don't think it takes into consideration the intake manifold. So think about that, right? Mikey's Mustang had a Performer RPM. And I remember when this is going to sound funny coming from Charlie, right? I looked at it and I did some measurements on it and I said, Mikey, I don't want to touch it because I don't think I can do a better job on it than the factory did. Of course, that was, you know, 30 plus years ago. So we ran the Performer RPM completely stock. And I think we started out with a 600 CFM annular discharge Holley on it. Okay, if you go down, it says performance potential at estimated horsepower peak of 6,500, which sounds about right because it petered out. It petered out at 68. You could feel it going away, and you would shift it right at 7. And that was about as fast as we could go. And it says we're... Okay, it says we were making about 435. I always thought I always thought it was making a little more than that, but that's what it says it is. Now, we can also back it up. Go on the Wallace racing calculators, right? Wallace doesn't send me any money. He has a really good site, though. Let's see if we can... We kind of have to do a little bit of an estimate because I don't know exactly what his Mustang weighed. But Mikey was no lightweight. He was like 320. So, let's say, I want to say the car was like 2850. So we're going to put it in as 3150. Put Mikey in it. And we're going to put it in as 435 horsepower. Okay, it says it should run 11 1/4 seconds at 119. In reality, it ran at 11.0 with a terrible 0 to 60 at 128. Okay, so I realize I may have the compression off a little bit. I realize I may have the weight of the car off a little bit. But we do remember what the speed and the lapse time was because we never broke it into tens. All right, guys. I think that's all we're going to cover for tonight. But what can I say about Mikey's Mustang? Probably one of the finest running engines I've ever designed, I would say. Yeah. And it was back in the 90s. The thing was just, it was great. It sounded completely stock. It would hit 7,000 RPM so fast it was hard to shift. It liked to break T5 trannies. We couldn't launch it to save our lives, even with slicks on it. But the Mustang did have a road race suspension, so that really didn't help us. We put lifting bars on the back. I don't know if those helped or not, but it was very interesting. When you hit the gas, the back of the car actually went up. So the front would go up and the back would go up. It's supposed to plant the tires. I guess I should tell you the rest of the combo, right? It had shorty pretzel headers, dual 2.5-inch exhaust with H-pipe Flowmasters. I actually modified the headers for anti-reversion, of course. I had the intake manifold and the cylinder head interface modified for anti-reversion. We had a Lakewood scatter shield on it. We had a heavy-duty clutch on it. After we broke the T5, we put a TKO 600 in it. And we built a 373 with the Ford locking differential, all from the Ford dealer. It was great. You could just go to the Ford dealer and get anything you wanted. And it was a really nice setup. He even used to get excellent gas mileage when he would take it out cruising. He made it 10 gallons of gas from Albany to his home in Lake Long Island. At almost 100 miles an hour the whole trip. Calculate that up for me. It's pretty darn good mileage. All right, guys. Thanks.